Alright, so this is my review of the Dingoo A320. It's a portable gaming system that plays emulators. It's from China, directly from China. All the stuff is in Chinese when you first get it, unless you buy it from thinkgeek.com, where I bought it from, and then I think they go in there and actually change that setting from Chinese to English for you in the system. So this the system cost me $100 from ThinkGeek. It costs you $85 or so from sites like Deal Extreme. The reason I got it from ThinkGeek was because of the shipping time. I wanted to get it sooner than later, and Deal Extreme is about 2 to 3 weeks, unless you pay a lot extra. So my overall opinion so far of this unit is great. Probably the only thing I battle with is if I should have bought the white version versus the black version. The black version tracks a ton of smudges, and you kind of have to use something like a microfiber cloth or a really soft cotton cloth to wipe it off. At least if you're like me and you want things to stay clean. So other than that, though, the unit's pretty good. The build quality is all right. Actually, it's not as good as I first thought it was when I first got it. I mean, the build quality is fine, but you'll want to carry it around in a case. I wouldn't recommend carrying it around in your pocket. This plastic on top of here is fine, but it is a flexible plastic. And if you have this system on and you press down on the screen, you'll see a rainbow effect around your finger, which tells me the screen is really close to this plastic. So if you sit on it or hit it too hard with something, it's gonna have a problem with that. So also, one thing I would advise against is leaving this plugged in too long. Just like my iPod, I did this with my iPod as well. I left it plugged in overnight, and you can't see it on this camera, but there's you might be able to see it. Kind of sees it right there, but there's kind of a rainbow effect on the screen, only if you see it from this angle, and it's kind of like a burn mark from overcharging. It's kind of my fault for just leaving it plugged in on overnight, but anyway, just something you might want to be aware of is not to leave it plugged in for too long. So this first review is going to go over the NES emulator and the SNES emulator, and then my next review will be going over the Game Boy Advanced and Neo Geo. First of all, when you go into your interesting game folder or area, you're going to be directly into your hard drive. I'm using an SD card, mini SD or a micro SD to mini SD card, and so I have this is all the stuff that comes on here by default. Some Game Boy Advanced games, I guess. I'm not sure where they come from, but they're nothing you probably heard of. Some 3D games which aren't going to play in this area. Interesting game. You're actually going to have to go to another area to get to that. So it's kind of confusing. You can get kind of lost in these interfaces. So let me go back to this. So interesting game. You'll be in the hard drive. Go back, and you can go to your mini SD card. And then you can select from here. These actually folders are directly what I have on my SD card. You can put them in any kind of directory structure you want. This is how I have it set up. I have it set up for one folder for each system, and then when you go into the folder, I have it categorized alphabetically. I actually had to create these folders, and I have a program you can do that, selecting a folder, and it'll categorize all of your files that are in there into these subfolders. I'll try to link to it in this review article. So it basically just because you have to scroll all the way down to get to these next games, and it can take a long time. So under C, I'll see if I can go ahead and find Contra. So the NES games in general, I don't think I've found one NES game that plays bad. They all play at full speed. I haven't had to mess with the frame rate at all. Sound is great. There's no distortion. So the NES emulation is awesome. Other emulators have little problems. But if you're playing NES, you're going to see no issues. This screen here, if you press select start or press the side button, will get you to the screen, the emulation screen. And this is where you change some settings, the frame rate, etc. These screens will all look different depending on what emulator you're using. But most have the same stuff like volume, etc. Now the SNES can have a little bit of problem playing some games. Such games like Super Mario World doesn't play that great. And there's just it's kind of like you got to mess with the frame rate, and the sound doesn't sound that good. So you'll probably want to find, if possible, the Game Boy Advanced version of the game that you like. See if it's possible to find that. But some games play alright, like for instance Street Fighter. There's no lag. I don't have to mess with frame rate. Sound is fine. Now, it's kind of the hope that these emulators will be worked on later on, as people are working on releasing new firmware versions, etc. So people are kind of hoping that these emulators are updated, to provide better support for the SNES and just a general improvement. So I'm getting my ass beat. All right. So that's my first review of the system. I'll post another review on what I think about the Game Boy Advance and Neo Geo games. But overall, I am very impressed.